This episode is in partnership with Authority Magazine. Authority Magazine, a Medium publication, is devoted to sharing in-depth and interesting interviews featuring people who are authorities in business, pop culture, wellness, social impact, and tech.
During COVID, 4 women from 4 corners of North America signed up for a virtual writing program.
Lina Lambert, Amy Rogers, Karen Miller-Williams, and our own Amy Goldberg were randomly chosen to work together for 12 weeks. And they kept on working. They call themselves the Olives.
And now, for more than 2 years after the program, these women, us, we meet virtually. And what originally began with writing turned out to be a whole lot more about life, coping, grief, comfort, and support. Something a little different today. Ladies, or should I say Olives, welcome to Believe in People.
Hi.
Hi. Hi, Amy. Hi, Kevin.
I want to start off by asking, because we did mention this in the intro, and I'll ask Amy Rogers, why do you call yourselves the Olives? And then we'll take it from there.
Well, every successful group needs a name that's quick to remember and clever and catchy. And when we met in a writer's group, we were looking at cute ways to kind of take our initials into something catchy. So we had K for Karen, A for Amy, L for Lina, A for Amy, and we were mixing them up and trying to come up with something. And the only thing that seemed to fit with all of our initials was the word Kalamata, like the Kalamata olives. And we started shorthanding it into just calling ourselves the Olives. And now, of course, we have many, many puns. All of you are meeting. I love all of you. So it's a fun way to kind of just give ourselves a name and really hold each other in our hearts in a cute way.
Well, I'm just going to throw this out there. So basically, it has nothing to do with martinis, or am I just on the wrong?
It could.
Going down the wrong path there.
My maiden name was Martin, so kind of Olive Martini kind of goes.
What you met in a writing group during COVID, is that correct? And if that's the case, has that helped you perhaps bond a little more closely than you would have otherwise? Lina.
I would say it did for me, because I felt very isolated and alone during that time, and I needed the camaraderie from other writers and some inspiration, and it helped make the 4 corners of the world literally come a little closer to me, and felt like I could jump into Amy and Karen's living room and their portions of the world, just like this. It's kind of amazing what Zoom can do.
It is, and actually to that point, and Kevin is just as new to hearing this as others are. Okay, so we all come from very different backgrounds. So I'm wondering, and if you would all share the snapshot, sort of the Cliff Notes or Cole's Notes in Canada version of your backgrounds. And Lina, will you start, and then we'll go Amy, Karen?
Sure. Thanks, Amy. I am probably the sponge in the group, the newbie that just listens and sucks up what these ladies have to offer. I have been writing all my life, but nothing very formal or getting published. And because of our group and the inspiration, I've been able to be published in a couple of places and had an ongoing column through Pushback with Amy's production company. And it's inspired me to keep going and maybe not be such a novice anymore.
And Lina, just a part of that, part of it too was, and if you could share, was your grief. Can you share a little bit about that you're going through?
Yeah, grief is always a touchy one to talk on, isn't it? Without tearing up. My husband died during and through COVID, and in March of 2021. I lost him after a 19-month battle with a disease, cancer disease. And I was looking for camaraderie to be able to share my grief. And I have realized through writing, it really helps to process and deal with my feelings, but then also help other people into being able to to understand or tap into some of the analogies that I've come up with. So it has partnered with my grief instead of shoving it away.
Therapeutic?
Very surprisingly.
During COVID, I was working with a lot of very high, they were medical, brain injury, drug abuse, all kinds of serious conditions. And I ended up retiring early because I knew that that could be something that could harm me. I didn't plan on retiring during COVID. And I ended up getting very sick for a couple of years. And I ended up having issues that were similar to what Lina was going to experience with her husband. So we connected up on a real personal level as far as our own medical concerns and whatnot. And what I found in retirement is that I stopped being the caregiver, stopped being the nurse, and ended up looking and seeing, what am I wanting to do with my life? And writing was something that just kind of called to me. And I started classes, little things here and there. And when I ended up joining this group, it was like, thank you, because we have two very experienced, seasoned, people who are sharing so much knowledge. It's been an incredible gift to have the two Amy's sharing so much with us, because Lina and I are both the novices, the little newbies. And it has been just a treat to be together and learning so much. The writing has been just such a gift in retirement. I say it's refirement now, that you get excited about things. And it's interesting because my background, I was raised by Mary Poppins and the Mortician.
The Mortician.
My dad always said, he goes, anybody can direct a funeral. He says, a mortician is really what you want to call it. I mean, a funeral director just directs. There's a lot more to it than that.
Well, you've got, there must be, because now you have to explain it. You were raised
right.
Mary Poppins and a mortician?
Yeah. Well, my dad, the mortician. Yeah.
And
it was in the family. Yeah.
Oh, he's an
years.
actual mortician. Oh,
Yeah.
No, and your mom was a nanny?
No, my mom was just Mary Poppins. She was just, she sang and danced through life. So what we had was the dichotomy of
that sounds wonderful.
The seriousness of death. I mean, stories in my life were things like Dad would come home and said, Karen, I need a little dress for a little girl who doesn't have one. Can you let me have one? And you'd be just thinking you want to give her the dress, but you want her to have her life back. Or like the year that he went out on Christmas Eve to pick up a body that was a young man with kids. And you wanted to get the body out of the home before the kids woke up on Christmas Day. Oof. And that Christmas, I just wanted to have, I was just glad to have my dad. You don't want any presents. So I grew up knowing that life was not forever, and having a sense of living every day to just enjoy what's in front of you. And Mom made the balance, right? Of the singing, the dancing, the Mary Poppins kind of, she really, truly was an angel. So it was beautiful to have that experience.
Well, and Amy, you got to top that one now.
I can't top that one. So I'll just rely on the facts. I've been a working journalist and for a former independent press publisher for most of my career. And until the pandemic, I had worked for 10 years plus, writing food and culture commentaries for NPR station WFAE in Charlotte, North Carolina, where I had lived for a long time. And of course, the pandemic just upended everything. And, fortunately, writing is a very solitary pursuit, as we know. Unfortunately, writing is a very solitary pursuit, as we know. So as the isolation of the pandemic, just got worse and worse, I decided to dip a toe into joining an online writing group. And it took a big leap of faith because, I don't like surprises. I wanted to, control the situation in a world where nothing was in control. So I signed up not knowing who I'd be matched up with in this online writing group. And here's the result. It's these three other tremendously talented, amazing, generous, hilarious, adorable, wonderful, brilliant people that I have come to just that just reside in my heart now as people I trust, people I love, people whose advice I seek, people who I would do pretty much anything for. And even though we are in the four corners of the continent, which is to say Western Canada, which is Karen, Eastern Canada, which is Amy, California, which is Lina, and Florida, which is me, we joke about meeting in the middle, but I don't see a lot of reasons to go to Kansas. We're going to figure out a way to get together in real life, because pretty much every week for 2 years now, we have been meeting online to share writing advice, but also to support each other through what have turned out to be awfully turbulent times individually, in our communities, in our country, on our planet, so it's just turned out to be a wonderful gift at the perfect time.
So it goes way beyond the writing. I guess that's where I'm going to like scratch a little bit deeper, but everyone needs camaraderie, as we've heard, and but in a time where it was so dark, it was frightening, those years, and this, I mean, must have let you know that you weren't all alone out there, despite the fact you were alone in a room writing, but you weren't alone. And that for me was a real difficult thing during the COVID years and the years that have subsequent years to COVID. Everybody's afraid now. Everyone is cautious, and you're not alone. I mean, that must actually really pick you up.
Kevin, one of the biggest benefits of anybody having community and connection is that we are heard, we are listened to. And people don't realize that listening is probably one of the best gifts that you can give anyone. Everyone needs to be heard. And as Amy was pointing out, we've had so many things that have happened in all of our lives, personally, as well as all of what's been going on out there. And so for us, we all look forward to that Thursday morning meeting. And it's just amazing what listening is offering, not just the support and the inspiration and the knowledge that we share, but being there for each other. Yeah.
And I think too, it reinforces, we've been hearing a lot, and I've been reading quite a bit about the people being disenchanted, women primarily being disenchanted with women not supporting women. And I want to hear what you think about this, Amy, Lina, and Karen, is that, do you believe that that's prevalent, that women do you feel that, I mean, given this group, no, but I mean, are you feeling that women are not supporting other women, or am I full of shit?
Both.
Probably both. Yeah, I mean, it happens, but men don't support men either. Kids don't support parents. Parents forget about grandparents. I mean, it's prevalent, I think, in the human nature. But for me, it's inspiring to see the opposite of that from podcasts like yours. I've watched a lot of the other podcasts and uplifting shows, and a group like ours where it breaks that norm. So it is possible. So what you said, Amy, might be happening, but what we have also can be happening.
Mm-hmm. When we start writing too, for me, I have not been one who's ever written in journals. I was not a diarist. I found that I'm expressing myself for the first time. And I think for a lot of people, this is something that is part of why people get into writing, is that they start actually expressing themselves. And to be able to open up to that, I think for a lot of women walk through life not expressing themselves. And to be heard and to be in this group is, like I say, such a gift. Because most of us, I think we just kind of keep on going on and doing our thing, and not actually taking time to say, how do I feel? And why aren't I sharing this with others and getting the support and the interest back? It's a beautiful thing. We all need that connection.
Yeah, I would agree. And I would like to ask Amy in Florida, not because you're Amy, but perhaps because you're in Florida. In today's
Yeah.
in today's world, you know, as was just mentioned, being able to open up and express yourself without the fear of people coming down on you, without it all be, you know, without you being accused of being something that you're probably not, be it, you know, woke or one of these other things that people have made up. Um, it it's a safe place, is it not, Amy?
Yes, and I that's a great question, and I want to go back for 1 second to the prior question about success and you know, the kind of guarded way that many of us may feel in putting our stories out there. You know, as a food writer, I'm going to share a little analogy with you. Success to me is not like pie. It doesn't mean that if you have more, there's less for me. I think there's plenty of success and opportunities to go around. But in terms of creating a space where we can express ourselves, desires, fears, worries, hurts, confusion, in my case, some general, really awful bad moods, you know, we all kind of just meet each other where we are. We don't have an agenda in this group. This is not a group of writers where there are assignments, where there are critiques, where there are arguments. It's, you know, it's what we need and what we're able to give. And to me, that's the only way it works. You know, I can just share personally that as a person who's been in the writing trades for decades, it was hard to admit that, first of all, I needed some support and feedback. And it was also very revolutionary to realize that it could come from surprising, unexpected places. And this is one of those places where four of us who literally had not even been Facebook friends before we were thrown into this writing group, all of a sudden we're trusting each other with our deepest truths. And that speaks to, of course, the integrity and wonderfulness of all these individuals, but the process of just kind of being, as they say, you know, in your truth, being real and being able to give what you get and get what you give, because many of us are used to one role or the other. And this has been a really good opportunity for me to go, I can learn a lot from someone who's new at this, you know, and also I have a lot to share as someone who's been at this a long time, but that is only the tip of the iceberg of what it's all about.
Really good. True.
That's so true. I mean, and you think about the openness because Amy, we say Amy R and Amy G, is Amy R. What, you know, I wanted to, I had the same feelings joining this group. So this was, I think, was this 12 weeks, a 12-week program? A 12-week program. It's a 12-week program.
12-step program?
It could be actually probably resulted in that. But this 12-week program was so that you would complete, I actually cannot remember, it's been 2 years, complete your writing. Mine was a book, right? Was that it? Was that part of it?
It was called From Start to Finish, it was called.
Yes, to start to finish.
And you were working on No, Really?
Yeah, you were.
Yes, which this group helped me with the title. I mean, we were really, I was throwing things out there and it really helped to gel what I was doing. And it was so helpful. And you know, I was so trepidatious as to join, you know, initially joining, because it was, as Amy said, we were thrown into a group we had never met before, and we just sort of eased our way into it, you know, because we all come from very different backgrounds, and yet there's was always a common good. And so, and I think, what do you think the lesson is in this, ladies? Like, I mean, is there something here for others to sort of relish in, or?
That's a good question. It's a little bit of trust and luck. Like, I felt like I won the lottery with you guys, but if I wouldn't have signed up for the class and played, if I wouldn't have bought my ticket, I wouldn't have won. So it kind of has always had that sense to me that it was a little bit of trusting and luck.
It's, you know, one thing I've just picked up on from Amy R, saying that, you know, you come and to give and take. And it just so reminds me of some of the other guests that we've had on this program. And from very, very, very different backgrounds. Laura Benedict in Maine runs a seafood place that was going belly up. She realized that if she gave all of her profits to charity, her restaurant filled up at night. And she was getting the money from the patrons coming in for the charity nights and giving it all away. And her phrase to us was, the more I made, the more I gave away, which was really fascinating.
Yeah.
Then we have Sue Gandhi, who is north of Chicago, who runs a food pantry out of her own garage. In these troubled times with so many people in traumatic situations in their lives, unemployment, not legally in the United States, many children, single mothers are particularly vulnerable in these cases. She says two things when these people come to her suburban garage looking for food and stuff. She says, "What do you need and how can I help?" Now, that probably to a lot of folks sounds completely altruistic and phony, but it isn't, is it? I mean, that's what you folks are doing every week. How can I help you?
When we come on to the meeting, we never know. And if someone says, I want to learn more about this, that's what we have for the next meeting. Or it's like, we don't know when we show up. It's always kind of a not planned meeting. It's coming and saying, what do we all need this week? And it varies. And I think that's what we have to always walk into everyone's existence, not thinking we know what they need or we have an idea about where we're going. It's more coming in and seeing where are we at today? What is it that somebody needs today? So there's this beautiful, like you say, give and take. It's us coming in, not knowing where the meeting's going to go often, So sometimes we plan on something that we want to learn about or that we're asking questions about, but sometimes it's just showing up and seeing where are we going today.
But also I'd like to add, you can certainly ask, you can request what you need. But it's never transactional. It's always just, very, I hate to use the word organic because it sounds kind of cliche, but I think trust the process that way. Nobody has the feeling of, oh my God, today's my critique day. They're going to rip me to pieces. It's never, ever that. It's never, ever that. It's what do you need and how can I help? But with the healthy amount of, okay, here's what I need. Who can help me?
Okay, and there was that time where I know I can be very annoying and said to Lina, just write it. Just submit. Just do it.
She did.
That's Lina. That's what she says to me too, by the way.
Yeah, enough of ready, set. Why don't you go?
Well,
which is true, and it has helped me.
You've done it to me too. So here's a little anecdote about how this group helped me. 2 years ago, I had written a very deeply personal essay about the return of Joni Mitchell to public life after she'd had an aneurysm. And it was 18 months ago when she appeared at the Newport Folk Festival. And I'd tried mightily to get it placed and had lots of lovely rejections and boatloads of crickets. And I was grousing about it in this group one day, right around the time that it was announced that Joni Mitchell was going to appear on the Grammy Awards. And these folks said, send it out again, send it out again. And I said, no, I'll have to rewrite it. And they said, send it out again. And I did send it out again and had a lovely, successful, warm acceptance with no edits from a wonderful editor at salon.com who gave it tremendous play in their Grammy package. And I can't even count the hits. And I got to tell not just a story as a journalist about someone who'd influenced me, but a personal part of my story that I'd never revealed, partly because of the courage that I built up on the shoulders of these brave folks who are doing it in our group with their own work.
Yeah.
Wow. I love you guys.
And that was inspiring to watch Amy go through that and have that success. And then because we're sort of invested in it, it was as if I got published in it with her, like I was just part of it. So
And you were, Lina, and you were.
Can we talk about Lina Lambert getting published in the New York Times on her very first
she got published in the New York Times. Yeah.
Well,
Talk
yes,
about
let's
that.
talk about
Lina,
Lina Lambert getting published in the New York Times. What's your secret?
Oh, it was a luck of the draw, beginner's luck, I suppose, or
In our head,
inspiration.
no.
Amy says no. Both Amy's say no. Karen's like, no. I have been inspired by Tiny Love Stories and Modern Love column in the New York Times for a very long time and followed it. And I started writing some tiny love stories and sharing them with the group. And yeah, that one's cute. That one's got a little potential. And, I would send another one sort of as a, take a look at this. And I wrote one on empty shoes, and the ladies, the Olives, said, "Hey, this is it. This is good. Like, you got something here." And I'm like, "Okay, really?" So I turned it in, and basically one word got edited, which is a little unusual for tiny love stories, to them not pick apart your whole thing.
We every week, because our time has come and gone. Every week we ask the same question. I'd like to start with Karen out in Vancouver, if you don't mind, Karen. But after the experiences you've just told us, I'm got a pretty good idea how you will respond. But you're each separate. You're each separate entities. So let's see if you respond in kind or perhaps a little bit differently. But starting with Karen, why do you believe in people?
Kevin, over the years, as a nurse or just even as a kid growing up in my background, I have seen the beauty of the resilience. I see that people have within them at their core love and understanding. And it's only our thoughts that get in the way and keep us from seeing each other as just another beautiful person. And so to me, it's like, I know what's in that. So when I worked with special ed and emotionally handicapped kids in Hawaii, or if I worked with the brain injured and the drug addicted people down here in Vancouver, I saw their health and I addressed that. So when a parent looks at their child and sees the beauty of what's inside there and doesn't think about, we tend to think of people as having a problem or something instead of seeing who's really in front of us. A friend of mine who had a brother who was drug addicted, and I had a sister who was really depressed and who was really hard to deal with on the phone. And I saw in both our cases, we would say, wow, when the phone rang, we'd be going, oh gosh, there they are again, looking for, they want something, they need something. And when I stopped seeing her as this person that was a real hardship to get on the phone with, just like she stopped seeing her brother as the problem, they change too, because they're seeing what you're seeing in them. So I believe that all of us at our core are these beautiful people. And that's what we have to see when we're treating anyone, whether it's a friend, whether it's a patient, it doesn't matter. You've got to look at what's in there, not what we have thoughts about. That's the only way to change the world, is for all of us to stop thinking why we don't get along. Instead, what are we all seeing that we all have in common?
Well, yeah. I do believe in people, and I kind of believe in people whether they're in a physical body or a spiritual one, and I believe in what they bring, and because I believe in them, and I believe in you guys, and I believe in us, it makes me believe in me, and then I get inspired and I can do more because of what you can do.
Nice. Last but not least,
I've thought about this, and I realized that I am by no means the most creative writer in the group of us four. So I will just boil it down to, I believe in people because we're all we've got.
True.
Well, I'm happy about that.
Thank you to the Olives for joining us today. To Amy, you're an olive yourself.
Thanks everyone for coming out and sharing
Thanks
this
for having
inspiring
us.
group.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, everyone.
See you next time.
Well, Amy, thanks for including me in the group of olives. It's great. But support, friendship, trust, being open. Fabulous.
Well, Kevin, you're now an official member of our group. Welcome. But we'll have to change the name. So the olives will now be something else.
I can be the pit.
You could be the pit.
Yes.
Excellent. I love that. The one thing is, when you're listening and watching this, is to not be afraid, believe enough in people to put yourself out there and to join groups, even if you're nervous about it. But it really does, you have to try it, at least go for it, because if you regret all those things that you don't do. So I just encourage people to sort of step out of their comfort zone. And if you are enjoyed this episode, this was very different than what we've used to presenting. We encourage you to subscribe, because you never know when we'll connect with the next 5 people in one podcast. So please subscribe to our podcast, Believe in People. Thanks, everyone.
Bye-bye.